Yo, what's up, guys? Um, Decided we were gonna do a TITANX community stream today, and I was able to get a special guest to come on and give us a look at the macro, seeing how it's such a shit show out there. A lot of people saying it's over, a lot of people saying it's not. So, just like to look at some data so that we can make some educated decisions here and see where we are. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring up Pennyboy Crypto.
Yo, what's up, guys? How we doing?
Welcome, man. How's things going?
Things are good, man. Just been busy, been blessed. Yeah, staying strong, long and proud. You know what I mean?
Nice. So you're over on the West Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys got some
Yep.
nice weather over there.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's like 80 degrees outside right now. It doesn't make any sense. I
Wow.
got family that live in like the Midwest and the East Coast and stuff, and they're all snowed in, and I don't even. Yeah, that sucks for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. We had a little snow here, but it melted. We still got snow on the mountains, but I don't really care about that. That's fine. I just don't like it down here,
Right.
driving in it and all that other shit. So we got a little
Where are
sunshine
you
today.
at?
I'm in Utah.
Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, yeah, Utah crypto. There you go.
Yep, northern Utah. Yeah, about 30 minutes outside Salt Lake.
Nice, beautiful
So
area.
it is beautiful. I mean, the mountains. My backdrop where I live is like a postcard, right? I take it for
Hmm.
granted because I've been here for forever. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's really pretty.
yeah. I've,
But
I've gone
yeah,
to Salt Lake a couple times and Provo and all that too.
oh nice. So I see we got Rich Landon backstage. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him up.
What's up, fellas?
How's it
What up,
going,
Rich? How you
Rich?
doing, bro?
It's going just fine. Just like Penny said, long and strong, proud, whatever. Yeah,
Right.
glad to be strong. Glad to be long in the market. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. So Slim saying there's some strange audio delay. Do you have your volume on your? Are you on YouTube, Penny,
No.
or just on StreamYard? Oh,
Yeah,
you
just
know
on
what? I
streamer.
think I am. Hold on a second here. Yeah, I think that was me. Hello. Anyway, yeah, that should fix it, Slim. Look at all these people coming in. Awesome. But all good on YouTube. All right, thanks guys. So we brought you on here. We want to, look at some data, see what's going on with the overall macro market and see where we're at and what you think, what the data says and where we are and if it really is over or if you think, that maybe we're just getting started or whatever you
All
think.
right. Yeah. So let's just kind of go from the start on what drives markets, right? So I've been in crypto since 2020. Came in just like how everybody else comes in normally because they saw other people making money or came in and bought the top or whatever it is. And I round trip my bags, had life changing wealth on the table, and got greedy, didn't take any profits, and round tripped all the way into the bear market. And all of these KOLs and all of these influencers were telling me that it was going to go to $100,000. Altcoins were going to run again. And you're crazy if you think that the cycle's over because this time is different, right? I'm sure we all kind of dealt with that same scenario. And that obviously did not happen. And we went into a massive bear market in 2020. And most projects still haven't recovered and we're waiting for something to happen. And this time around in 2025, you had the same exact process where all of these KOLs, all of these influencers promised that it was going to happen by this time or this was going to happen so and so. And guess what? It didn't happen. And so that led me down a trajectory of trying to figure out what the hell actually drives these markets. What drives a market like cryptocurrency? And cryptocurrency is a risk market. It is highly sensitive to liquidity. Okay. And so what we have to realize is to think that there is a 4-year cycle that's programmed in the crypto markets because of the halving cycle in Bitcoin, unfortunately, is just incorrect. It's not true. Now, this has been a narrative that obviously has been able to be um, it's been able to be tracked essentially from the beginning, and it was right because every 4 years since the inception of Bitcoin, following the halving cycle, Bitcoin would peak and then it would consolidate, and then 4 years later it would peak and then it would consolidate. And so no one had a reason to question why it's not in a 4-year cycle. But if you actually peel back the layers of what was actually happening on a macroeconomic and monetary policy stance throughout those 4 years, it was because of the flow of global liquidity was peaking and then contracting based off of monetary policy from the Fed, and the countries are refinancing their debt every 4 years as well. So this is what expands and contracts liquidity, right? And so with that being the case, if we think that the cycle is over right now, we have to come to the conclusion that the global liquidity cycle is over, that we will not expand from here, that everything has already peaked out, and we are going to go into a recession and a bear market. And in my opinion, the data does not say that whatsoever. So that's my thesis. And remember, bull markets end when you run out of buyers. And so we have to look at what's ahead of us, and we have to look at all the data, and we have to come to the conclusion that, are we running out of buyers, or are the buyers not even here yet? And so we'll look into all that.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I tend to agree with us just getting warmed up personally. But I will say, nothing said on this stream is financial advice. We're just some dudes on the internet looking at some things and giving some opinions. Everybody's responsible for their own decisions. Is there a chart that you wanted me to pull up first?
Yeah, let's for anybody that missed maybe the first stream that I was on. What was it? That was the TITANX
Second anniversary.
Second anniversary stream. Yeah. So for anybody that missed that stream, let's kind of just recap what we went over. So on the bottom here, let's pull up that global liquidity M2.
Okay.
All right. So right here, this is our global liquidity M2. So what this does, this showcases the liquidity and money supply that is in the market. So we have 2013, 2017, and 2021. So obviously where you see that it is green and there's a lot of it, that means that there is a lot of liquidity in the market at those times. And so 2013, what do we have then? That was Bitcoin's first massive bull run, right? And then so obviously as we go down from 2013, it comes down and global liquidity goes negative, right? And we can see it dips down into a trough. Now, what is causing that though? Because things don't just go up and down for no reason. Well, at that time, you probably had inflation coming in because the Fed was probably printing money. And so when inflation gets too hot, what does the Fed do? They change their monetary policy. And so they were probably hiking rates. They were tightening the money supply to suck liquidity out of the market to cool off inflation. And so we can see that this graph right here represents that happening right there as it goes down into the trough from 2015 and 2016. Now going into 2017, what do we see happening? Well, there's a buttload of liquidity coming back into the market, right? And then we see right there at the bottom where it says 2018, if you look straight up, that's when global liquidity peaked in this cycle right here. And if anybody remembers the 2017 bull run, most of the altcoins were actually running and peaking towards the end of the year going into 2018. So the end of 2017 and going into 2018 is where most altcoins were peaking out. And you can see on this graph right here that that is when global liquidity was at its highest level. Okay. And then obviously we see it peaks and it comes back down. Okay. So at that time, that is actually when the Fed started doing quantitative tightening. So it's the first time that they actually did QT. So what QE is quantitative easing. That is when the Fed is buying treasury bills and bonds. And so they're printing money and they're purchasing these. And what it does is it injects liquidity into the system. That's usually what causes these big run-ups of liquidity. And so when it drops down like that drastically, it's because the Fed is now putting or doing QT, quantitative tightening. And what they're doing is they're selling those treasuries and their bonds. So it's called a balance sheet runoff. Okay. And so that's what was happening in 2017 into 2018. They started quantitative tightening. And we can obviously see the effect of that on this chart right here. And then going into 2020 and 2021, we can obviously see that there is more liquidity than we had in 2017 and 2013, a massive amount of liquidity. And well, why was that? Okay. Well, in 2020, we obviously had COVID. The whole world's economies stopped. It was a black swan of all black swans. It was a crisis. And what does the Fed do with crisis? They respond. Okay. So their response to this crisis is they dropped rates to absolute zero. It was an emergency press conference. They slammed them to zero and they started massive quantitative easing and they freaking inflated the money supply like we've never seen ever before. And we can obviously see how that fits on this chart right here. And we had more liquidity that we've ever had because it was a bailout of the whole world, essentially. Now, that obviously did very well for risk assets. We had a massive bull run. But what happened in Q2 going into Q3 of 2021 is inflation ran way too hot, worse than they had expected. And so I think it was either May or June, the Fed said that they were going to start cutting rates. And so what you'll notice in the 2021 cycle, if you go back and look at all of the charts, most altcoins ran from January to May. That's when most of the altcoins actually had their altcoin cycle. And Bitcoin's like first peak, that's when it peaked out and it crashed down. That's when China actually said that they were banning Bitcoin, and we Bitcoin dropped by like 55%. It was a huge deal. Everybody thought the cycle was over, and then Bitcoin got one more run up going into Q4. But what you noticed is that most of the altcoins didn't run. So Bitcoin made a new higher high. A lot of people say that it was kind of a scam leveraged high because the rest of the market didn't. Because what you would think is like, okay, well, if Bitcoin's making another high, then that means that the altcoin sector is going to have another run. But that never happened because what started happening right there is they started hiking rates and they started quantitative tightening at that point too. So it started sucking out all of the liquidity of the markets. And altcoins are incredibly sensitive to liquidity. So because they're a risk on asset. You're only seeing altcoins run when people are confident in the economy. They're confident of the future, essentially. And so what was happening at the end of 2021 is you have this massive fear that hit the market because the Fed was shifting policies. And we can obviously see on this chart, crashes down. And then if you look to the right-hand side, we have had nothing like what we've had in 2013, 2017, or 2021 when it comes to liquidity. Not even close. Now you do see these little peaks, right? And obviously we've had little run-ups in the markets in the last like year and a half to 2 years, but nowhere near what we're used to seeing inside of these markets, right? And so this is global liquidity, and this is what actually runs these markets. Now let's go down to the ISM/Bitcoin chart that I have.
Okay.
All right, so this is the ISM, and the data on here is called the PMI. So so there's a lot of people, and I agree with this statement that they've said that Wall Street has done very, very well, but Main Street has been in a recession for the last 4 years, and I actually agree with that statement. And this data is what really expresses that. So what the ISM and the PMI signify is essentially the health in the manufacturing buying and selling within the economy. This essentially showcases how the country's business is running within our middle class. And if you look at the bottom, we obviously have the years, and then the black graph is the Bitcoin chart. Okay, so what we can see is that in 2013, when the ISM was above 60, because you can see on the right hand side, the ISM is above 60. And then in 2013, if you go up and you see Bitcoin's peak, it peaked out and the ISM was above 60. And then you see the ISM dip, and then we obviously go into a bear market. Now we fast forward down here to 2017, you will see that the ISM is above 60. And then if you go up, Bitcoin peaks out. Okay. And so with the ISM above 60, that means the economy is good. People have extra money. People are confident in the future. They want to be more risky with their money. People have extra money to spend. If you got an extra $1,000 a paycheck and you want to make some money, well, crypto's running. I'm confident in putting in some money that I'm willing to afford to lose to try to make some money. So that's kind of what's happening within the economy when our ISM is above 55 to 60. Okay, and then what we can see right here, it then dips back down. We have a massive crash because of COVID. You can actually see it right there at the bottom where it says 2020. That is the COVID crash. Obviously, our economy's completely stopped. If you look up to the Bitcoin chart, you can see that the Bitcoin chart crashes right when the ISM crashes as well. And from that point, we make a V-shaped recovery, and we completely escape out of that zone, and we run up above 60. And then guess what Bitcoin does is it peaks out right when the ISM peaks out. And this is when liquidity was at its highest within the global M2, was right at this point. And then if you look at the ISM, obviously it's came back down because the Fed started a massive quantitative tightening campaign. And they have had rates above 4% for about 3 years, which is really, really, really high. And then if you look at 2022, 2023, 2024, and here at 2025, we have essentially been in a complete recession within the ISM. And so what that shows us is, yeah, stock market might be at an all-time high with the S&P, but our economy has been in a recession. Our manufacturing has been in a recession. Our people having extra money to spend, we have been in a recession. And so for people to think that the cryptocurrency market has come and gone, I personally don't even think it's actually even come yet because of what we can even see on this data, on this chart. We've been in a complete recession with the ISM since 2022. Now, another chart I want to look at real quick is this gold copper chart. So right here, the gold copper chart, this is something that Tom Lee has brought up. And so I've been looking into it. And so this is the ratio between gold and copper. And whenever you see this chart bottom out, that usually signifies that the ISM has bottomed out. Because what happens when industries are are building more, well, usually the cost of copper starts to go up, right? Because copper is a metal that is used within manufacturing a lot. And so what we can see right here is in 2009, it crashed pretty damn low. That was after the 2008 crash. There was a massive U.S. recession. Then in 2015, you have the Chinese yuan devaluation. That was a massive macro event that affected markets big time. That was a big time bear market between 2015 and 2016. Then you obviously have 2020 right here, where it bottomed out. It actually made a lower low from 2015, and that was COVID. That was a massive U.S. recession. And then if you look at where we're at right now at 2025, we're actually making a double bottom with 2020. And anytime that this has happened prior, what we can see is when it bottoms out, it makes a massive expansion. And when that expansion happens, that means that an expansion in the ISM is happening, which is actually the business cycle is getting ready to rip, essentially. So that's where we're at right now. This doesn't look like euphoria. This doesn't look like we've ran hot for 12 to 18 months and now it's time to pump the brakes and start pulling liquidity out of the market and go into a bear market. This looks like we've been in a bear market, and it looks like we are ready to expand out of a bear market. Because what's happening right now with the Fed? Okay, well, the Fed has a dual mandate. It has two things that it has to focus on. It has to focus on inflation, and it has to focus on unemployment. That's their main two jobs, right? Now, inflation, their mandate has been 2%. We've been in a massive quantitative tightening cycle for the last 3 years to try to get us to that point. We've hovered above it, but we haven't hit 2% yet. But most importantly, what's going on is the jobs data is really, really, really bad. Unemployment has been rising significantly this whole quarter. And so what it's doing is it's putting the Fed in a position where regardless if they have hit their inflation mark, which is why they've had such a tightened policy, they have to cut rates. Because if they don't cut rates and if they don't inject more liquidity into Main Street, we are going to go into a recession. And the Fed is not going to allow that to happen. And so coming up in December, we have another rate cut. Potentially, it's like a 88% odds right now that they're going to cut rates. But why is employment so bad? One, the economy's been really bad. We've been in a recession, but also we have AI. AI has been drastically taking jobs. And so it's not something that we're going to see that is going to reverse overnight, as in the employment data. We're actually probably going to continue to see this trend down. And so it's putting the Fed in a position where they're probably going to have to keep cutting rates. Now, what happens when they cut rates? Well, that means that there is cheaper capital that is available to come into the markets. And you have money market funds. So what money market funds is, let's say you're a financial institution, you're a bank, you're a hedge fund, you're someone that manages large amounts of capital. Whatever the Fed's funds rate is at, you can get a yield on your money. Right now, there is $7.8 approximately trillion that is sitting in money market funds because rates are so high. So if you can get 3.5 to 4 to 4.5% on billions of dollars, why would you go anywhere else? That's a safe place to put your capital. And there's a ton of money in money market funds. But what's going to happen as rates start to decline over the next year, you're going to have a lot of that capital that is going to hunt out better yield. And so that is when you have the macro markets that go from risk off, which is where we've been for the last 4 years pretty much, to risk on. And you're going to have a lot of liquidity that are going to flow into equities. They're going to flow into Bitcoin. They're going to flow into crypto and all this stuff, and so this is happening. And the new Fed, what's his name? Let me see. His name is Kevin Hassett. Okay. So Kevin Hassett is most likely going to be the new Fed. And this is somebody that is picked by Trump to execute Trump's vision. Trump has stated that he needs to run the economy hot. Now, what does that mean? It means that they need to print money because they need to get reelected, and they need to pretty much make the economy better for the middle class, because that's who voted for him to make changes in our economy. And with rates too high, they're having a really big problem doing that, because they have to roll their debt as well. We have like $10 to $12 trillion worth of debt that we have to refinance in 2026. And when rates are too high, that's not going to work out very well. And so they need rates lower to refinance their debt. Now, when they refinance that debt, that is more liquidity that comes into the markets, right? And so with all these things happen, I don't see how we are at the end of a cycle. It seems like we're actually in the beginning of a cycle, and we have to come to the conclusion that if that's the case, then we've essentially kind of been in a bear market for the last year for altcoins, right? So I want to pull up some of these altcoin charts. So I have 10 charts here, and I just want us to look at them and see if we've noticed anything similar. So this is Velo. This is a yearly chart on Velo. This is a massive project. This is a huge project out in Asia with cross-border remittances and RWAs. It is down 79% for the whole year. They have a massive utility. They have a massive community, and it's down 79%. Next one.
Oh, I only have one.
Oh, there's only one chart.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Let me put some more in there. Boom, 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 boom. All right, image. Okay. All right, this should be one more. Or yeah,
Okay.
go to the bottom.
Yeah.
All right, so this is Casper. So Casper is a layer 1 blockchain. It has a massive community. It's a big deal, and it's down 75% on the year. All right, I'm going to pull in one more.
Okay.
Okay, it should be there. This is XDC. XDC is one of the biggest projects in the world when it comes to trade finance. It has massive utility. They're tokenizing like trillions of dollars of data on their blockchain, and it is down to the right. Okay, next one. All right, AXL. This is Axelar. This project pretty much connects all blockchains. They have over 200 blockchains that they are connecting together. It's a massive project. It's down by 89% on the year. All right. Next one. It should be there. This is HBAR, Hedera. Huge project. If you look at the governing council of Hedera, it has Google, Microsoft. They're partners with the World Economic Forum. I mean, this is a big time cryptocurrency project. It's down 58% for the year. Next one. All right, we have the Graph GRT. This is a huge AI infrastructure DePIN project. It is down 86% on the year. All right, next one. XRP. XRP is one of the biggest projects in all of cryptocurrency, and in my personal opinion, this is something that that will change the way that money flows globally. And we're literally sitting at our lows for the whole entire year right now. All right, two more. All right, should be in there.
Sorry, I don't see him. Let me see.
All right, I'm gonna remove them. All right, image. All right. Well, all right. You get the chase, and then I'm gonna pull up TITANX's chart. All right, it should be there.
Where are we at?
Bam, TITANX.
Okay.
So for the last year, we're down by 83%. So what this tells us, guys, is even within this community, and I'm seeing a ton of FUD right now. It's hilarious. It's such bottom signals that there is nothing different with a project like TITANX than all of these other projects that make up our whole entire industry. I don't think we have a crypto problem. I think we have a business cycle and liquidity problem. And that green box that I have right here on TITANX, this is actually I've had this graphed out for a while, but that's what we need to get over for us to be back in a bullish uptrend. So if you're wondering what that green box is, that's what that means. But I think that as soon as liquidity comes back into these markets, and look, it might not happen right away. Like it might take a while because quantitative tightening stopped December 1st. Back in 2019, when QT stopped, it took about, I think, like 2 to 3 months for the markets to fully bottom out. But then from that point, it was a complete reversal. Because when quantitative tightening stops, that means that quantitative easing begins. And what quantitative easing is it's when they are buying treasuries and bonds and putting it on their balance sheet, the Fed. And they are, I just read a report. It says that the Fed is expected to start buying $40 billion a month of T-bills, which is treasuries, on early 2026. Okay. And so when that starts happening, you are going to see a massive wave of liquidity that is going to come into the economy, which is going to come into the markets. And just like what we looked at on the M2 money supply, where those green big blobs of liquidity, and you obviously notice that 2013, 2017, and 2020 and 2021, you have these massive green blobs, and we haven't had shit. And so I think what is awaiting us is a massive influx of liquidity in 2026. And it might not happen right away. It might take a little bit, but I don't think that the cycle is over. If anything, if you're buying right now, not financial advice, but if you so happen to think that this is a good time to buy, I think that you're buying at the bottom. And that's probably a pretty good bet, in my opinion, with whatever project you're into.
Yeah, well put. Personally, I'm still DCAing. I'm DCAing into the projects that I believe in, and I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with the data that you have presented. And I think we're just getting started. Not to mention, we've got a pro crypto president, and he does like to run it hot. We got a new Fed chair coming in May. Chances are the markets are going to start pricing that in before he hits office.
Right, exactly.
And then, they're saying that this year's tax refund should be better than they've ever been for Americans. So there could be a little bit of cash in people's pockets. And then he's talking about these tariff checks now, whether or not that materializes, we don't know. But these are all things that gives retail purchasing power.
Exactly.
And I think that retail has been in a recession. Nobody's had money to be going into crypto. I think everything that we've seen has pretty much been institutional up until this point. Now, if it's okay with you, I'm going to go through some of these comments.
Uh-huh.
I've been kind of neglecting our people here. What's up, Light Up? Long time no see, man. Yo Yo, Slim. Oh, I think we got rid of that. Any crystal balls? Well, we got charts. Good afternoon. All good on YouTube. Where that goes. Any idea how many zeros it's going to take for Jake to turn on the V1? My wife says if TITANX goes to 8 zeros, I have to black out my TITANX tattoo.
Damn.
Luckily, it's small. Don't worry, folks. Liquidity is on its way. ISM is everything. TITANX to 1000X. Let's fucking go. Nobody talking about the fact that Trump is going to make capital gains in crypto tax free. 80% of his family's wealth is now in crypto. Yeah, and I haven't heard that, but that could be a massive catalyst. You're going to see a lot of money get into crypto if something like that happens. But
Right.
yeah, his kids are big time into crypto. If they ask for easy game, PMI 55 to 58, out early. 58 to 64, best take some profit.
Absolutely.
First time now, 3 years under 50, best opportunity DCA and change your life. Now, this one right here, when we had you on before, this is something that I was looking at right here. I want to pull that chart back up. Okay, right here. So when TITANX had its last run, which is, well, it was 15x from here. I don't know what it is now. It might be 16. Who knows? But this little pump right here, this little candle on this chart was when we were end of 24 and into early 25.
Right.
This year. And so if you compare that to the priors here, and then the prior cycles here, and then think about, okay, look how much TITANX we've burned since then. Look how much thinner the liquidity is since then.
Uh-huh.
And if this little spike right here at the end of 2024 was, I don't know, 15x from where we are now, what does the future look like? I mean, that's massive upside potential.
Look, if you have Ethereum that actually goes into a massive impulse and price discovery, you know, I mean, come on. It's, like TITANX is, I mean, look what just happened 2 weeks ago. Remember when Eric was playing around and he threw the buy and burn on for like a dude, you had the whole ecosystem that just went insane for like 24 hours. And that's how our liquidity is managed essentially with all how the liquidity pools are operate. So yeah, when we're in an actual environment where things are going crazy, bro, TITANX is going to do amazing, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, you see it every time we get a good pump with the liquidity bonding. Everything just turns green together. Liquidity bonding is beautiful on the way up, not so pretty on the way down. Been kind of brutal. But on
Yeah,
the way up,
exactly.
it's a beautiful thing, and we see it every time. So yeah, I'm still bullish, and it's wild that it's wild to me that so many people are hung up on the 4-year cycle thing. I mean, the market makers have done everything possible to shake anybody that was not an institution out of this cycle so far. Look at what happened on 1010. It's like they just hunt the liquidity, manipulate it, and shake people out.
Right.
And so the 4-year cycle, what an easy way, what an easy play for them. That's easy work for them.
It's a perfect narrative to do what they did. Perfect narrative.
Yep.
And look, when it says the bull market ends when you run out of buyers, right? So that's kind of like a rule. So with legislation coming, and you have the Clarity Act. When the Clarity Act passes, that's going to unlock trillions of dollars of exposure and real utility for stablecoins, tokenizations, real world assets, cross border remittances, AI. Like AI and blockchain go hand in hand. AI governance. It's going to happen on blockchain, and then you have the whole digital economy of AI agents that are going to be literally in the workplace 24/7 transacting on these networks. And then they just came out the other day that Bank of America, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, they're all pretty much allowing exposure to all their clients. And so when we go back to the main point of a bull market ends when you run out of buyers, all I'm seeing is we're entering into a new era where there's going to be trillions of dollars of buyers that are going to want exposure to this industry.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every other day you're getting some kind of bullish news about something that is pro crypto. I mean, we are so far away from where we were when Gensler was in and when Biden was in office, as far as like governments across the globe, financial institutions, everybody is given the green light on crypto, and yet people are saying it's over. And it's like, no, I don't even think we've started. It's never been this bullish for crypto, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. It's we're entering into a perfect environment for crypto to flourish when it comes to the macro economic side and monetary policy. And just like what you said is with the new Fed chair coming in May, we're probably going to front run that. So it's not like in May once he comes in, then we're going to see the effect of that. Yeah, we'll see the rates fall after he comes into office, but liquidity is going to front run that whole situation, which I think Q1 2026 is when we potentially get our first like big impulse in this market. And then you got to look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, man. I don't know if have you been tracking that?
Just here and there,
So
but it has been
it's
falling, right?
yeah, it's completely stalled out on a macro scale. It's pretty much making a lower high right now, and its super trend is gone red, which is when you have a macro uh, super trend that goes bearish on a macro chart. It's usually like 90% that it's going to continue in that direction, and so like all these things are lining up. You have QT ending, you have QE starting pretty soon. You also have the Fed injecting liquidity into the banking system right now. They just injected $14 billion in the overnight repo facility, like the 1st of December, which is the highest liquidity injection that they've made since COVID. And so when you have a Fed that's essentially reactive, right? They have to react to when things happen, and the labor market and the banking system are really 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 bad, and so we're going to continue to see the Fed injecting liquidity, and that means that we're going to risk on. And so when you have the Bitcoin dominance chart that looks like it's about to fall off a cliff, and you have all of these macro factors all lining up for more liquidity to come in the markets and for rates to continue to fall and money markets to find a new home for their liquidity, like I don't see a world where we don't go up at some point. I mean, it doesn't happen tomorrow. It could not even happen until February. We don't know, but I'm the ship is steering in the right direction, and with liquidity that might take a little bit, but I feel that we're entering it, not exiting it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Rich, what do you think about all this?
Absolutely clueless.
All right, go back to eating. Um,
I'm chewing some chocolate candy. Yeah.
all right, all right. Um, let's see. Pull up some comments here. When Moon, I hope sooner than later. Brutal 4 years. Yeah, it has been. No joke. It's
Mhm.
been brutal. It's been rough. But yeah. I mean, the, the last thing I'm doing is selling these bottoms. I'll tell you that much. I don't give a
Right.
shit. I am not selling a goddamn thing. And I'm seeing a lot of people coming out saying, "Don't DCA falling, don't DCA falling knife and all this other stuff." And yeah, people do what they want. Do whatever you want with your own money. But I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to continue to DCA because I completely believe, and like Rich says, you couldn't blast us out of here at this point. We're here, so
Mhm.
I'm bullish on it. I think the ecosystem is absolutely, it's amazing. I don't think people really understand how special what we have in TITANX really is. There's nothing like
Yeah, I
this
agree.
anywhere else. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be amazing. Let's see. When you going to Dubai to find Jake? I don't know. Jake, where you at, dog? Community's asking about you. Let's go. Proof of life. Crypto connoisseur request proof of life.
I think Jake pops out after Ethereum breaks like 5K.
That's exactly what I think.
I think I think he just needs to see that we're in a confirmed bear market or a bull market, and then he'll probably come back.
Yeah, he don't want to do any false alarms. What do you think he's building?
I have no idea. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, knowing him, it's something that's going to mean something. And I feel like he's going to have he's building something that has probably some real life application to it. Um, so and I'm sure he's going to utilize X28 just like what we've kind of all agreed on, um, because we're entering into a world where interoperability is it's a must. If because when it comes to real life like utility, like on these networks, like of people that are just normies, like they need, like they don't care what's happening on the back end. They just want it to work, right? And so whatever applications are built from here on out that the real world is going to be adopting, no one's going to know how to bridge or transfer or use a wrap token. It's all like that's not going to work. And so I feel that with him making Titan X um, into X28 and allowing X28 to exist on all of these other chains, I feel like that's really where he's going to build from, because that makes way more sense onto where we're going with all this when it comes to real world adoption.
I mean, I don't understand where the confusion comes from. I guess it just came from the price falling on X28 and losing its peg. I mean, you go onto the X28 website and all the chains that he plans on bridging to, they're all literally listed there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that only one of them is open right now, and that's base. So
Right.
like, where's the disconnect? Maybe because nobody's seen him or heard from him or got any updates on that. But any updates he has put out, he keeps saying it's X28. I
I think
mean,
people just have PTSD, and because in cryptocurrency, this industry, people just been scammed so much, and I think it's just like I think everyone just has massive PTSD, and they think that he's just going to run off with all the Ethereum, and just the worst case scenario is going to happen. And then you factor in that your bags are down 90%. Like, no one feels good about that. You know what I mean? So it brings out the worst of people, and they want someone to blame for it because that's human nature. Everyone's a bunch of babies, and that's just how mankind is. You know what I mean? They want someone to blame for why things haven't worked out for them. And look, Jake, like what we just broke down on the macro, Jake has nothing to do with any of this. Look at all these other charts that we just went through. These are big time projects. These are massive, massive utility based networks. And they're all down 70, 80, 90% because we're in a freaking, we're pretty much in a recession. And Jake has nothing to do with that. I actually commend Jake for just shutting up and building because it's his not his job to hold people's hands when it comes to where people put their money. He's building something, just let him build. And if you have a problem with that because your charts down on the crypto that you're invested in, then you're over leveraged, and that just is what it is.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of it comes from. I think people are just over leveraged. They thought they were gonna get a quick flip, and everything's taken much longer. And if that's your source of income is crypto, and you got bills that are paid, and you're forced to sell bottoms because that's the only capital you have, that's a shitty place to be. I'm sure, man. I don't ever want to be there. You
Yeah,
know,
big
we
time.
we say it all the time. Don't spend more than you can afford to lose. And it's tempting because when crypto runs, it runs so damn hard.
Mhm.
Nothing runs like crypto. Holy shit. When it goes, it goes. But stay
Yeah,
responsible out there, guys.
and look, you have the whole industry that got caught off sides. They thought that it was just always going to be the way that it is, and you buy at the lows of the Bitcoin having a year, and you sell in Q4 the next year, and you just rinse and repeat. And guess what, man? Markets will always humble you, and for you to be that arrogant in thinking that you were just going to time the cycle again, I mean, that's just not how things work. That's how life is. Life is not fair, and so I think a lot of people got caught off sides and got way over leveraged in the markets, thinking that it was going to play out the way that it always has. When we've only had 12 to 13 years of data. That's literally nothing when it comes to like markets on assets. And so this is things are different this time because things are different on a macro scale, which is driving this market to take longer. And look, kind of like what we talked about the last time. I look at this as an opportunity, because look, you have a whole extra year to be buying into projects that you believe in at the lows. Because guess what? When it gets popping and when it gets going, just like what you said, it's going to go through the freaking roof and you're going to wish you bought more. And people that sold and are on the sidelines now, these projects might do a 2, 3, 4, 5x before they realize, oh shit, the cycle's not over. It's actually getting going again. And guess what? They're going to buy back in higher than when they sold their bags, and then you lost 30 to 40% of your bags instead of just holding through the pain. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not gonna risk my position personally. I don't do that. So I'll tell you a little story. Um, TITANX day 280.
right.
Everybody, everybody, including myself, was expecting a dump. So I
Oh yeah.
uh, so I went risk off, and I never do this kind of shit. Never, because I already know. You know what I mean? I know better. But I thought
Mhm.
this was a sure play. It was gonna dump just like everybody else. So I went risk off, and luckily I happened to be right at my computer that day when everything started happening. And son of a bitch, if that thing didn't fucking reverse and start running away without me, and I got my position back, but just
Right.
fucking barely. And
Yeah.
we launched Inferno like I think it was the day before or the week
Mhm.
before, something like that. And those two ran together, and son of a bitch, that was a run.
Oh yeah.
We have another situation setting up just like that one in Utah. We have everybody and their mama, the grandmamas, and the dogs thinking that Eric has to use his buy tight next to stake it. What do you think?
What do you think about that situation, Penny?
I don't know. What is it?
So, in order for Dragon X has like $1.4 million or something worth of Ethereum.
Uh-huh.
in their protocol that they have to buy TITANX with. Um, and that's the only thing you can do is buy TITANX. Well, if they buy it before the 888-day payout, which is in April, and stake it, then they'll get more, right? They'll get more of a share of that pool.
Right.
So everybody's saying that Eric is going to have to do it. He's going to have to buy. And I don't know. What if he doesn't? I mean, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, because there's no mining on TITANX. So it's not like these pools are filling again. It's not like, he may not get a second chance.
So
But
so if he uses that buy and burn, it's going to increase his percentage in the pool, which is going to give him a bigger payout into Dragon X day 888.
correct.
Got it. I don't know. It's hard to say with Eric because he's interesting. He he I don't know. It's hard to get a read on him on what he's actually going to do, because I think he puts out a lot of stuff on X that's just kind of him like joking around and kind of like trolling on people. So I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. I think it'd be beneficial for him too, but I'm also seeing that he thinks that we're going into a bear market right now. So if he thinks that we're going into it, like if he actually thinks that, then he probably isn't going to use it, and he's probably going to save it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and it seems like, with the stuff he's been posting, thinking we're going into a bear market and everything is that a setup. You wonder what he's up to.
Right.
So let's see. It's done in the past.
It just seems like an awful lot of ETH he has to spend just to get 80 ETH.
Right.
Like he has to spend 1.4 million just to get 80 ETH added to his share of the payout. It doesn't seem like a good strategy. Um,
But he
but
has to
he'll
buy.
do nothing
That's all
else
that.
with it. But
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the only thing he can do with it.
now here's
Yeah.
on the flip side. There's an outside situation where suppose TITANX supply would be consumed at some point, and then you could use that, and then mining comes back, and then they do refill. But that's a big gamble.
Yeah. True. Very true. Yep. I guess time will tell. You know what's strange is, when we did the Blaze 888-day Diamond Hand pool, I did not think it would be this cycle. You know, we did not think it would
Right.
be this cycle. And now it's less than a year away.
I know.
So it could very well happen this cycle, depending on how things go, which is really weird because everything is just so drawn out.
Yeah, I remember. I remember people were pretty much planning on the cycle being over in Q1 in 2025. Like, didn't what wasn't it Rain Man that made what's that one bot protocol that's like super hyper
Lotus?
deflationary? Lotus, right? He made that whole project planning on the bull market to be peaking in like February to March. I remember that, and that
Yep,
obviously didn't happen.
exactly. And I mean, I was in the 4-year cycle camp too, up until probably the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's just always played out that way, right?
Yeah,
But
there's no reason to think anything differently. You know what I mean? Because how are we supposed to know? You know what I mean?
exactly.
What I looked into too, and Raul Paul discovered this, is what's actually extending this cycle, like what the other than the Fed, other than the Fed extending the cycle, but what's really extending the cycle as well is back in 2021, they issued 5-year bonds uh, for the government to roll their debt. And so, what really drives the business cycle is the debt refinance cycle, which is they're usually issuing 4-year bonds to refinance their debt, which creates like a massive amount of liquidity that comes into the markets every 4 years. It's another reason why there's 4-year cycles. And they did not issue 4-year bonds; they issued 5-year bonds. And so 2026 is when all that debt is actually now going to be refinanced and roll over. So we go from a 4-year cycle to a 5-year cycle because of the government refinancing their debt in 2026, which is going to create a shitload of liquidity. So another interesting thing to track as well.
Yeah, Raul Paul's where I first started, learning about the liquidity and all of that, and I was like, this guy might be onto something here. And then
Right.
when you started posting some things about it, I was like, yeah, Penny's in that camp too. Let's bring him on and talk about it. So, yeah, we always appreciate you coming on, man, and bringing the data, showing us what's going on. It's always good
Yeah,
to
of
have
course.
you. There's not a ton of us left in TITANX, at least not publicly. There's probably still quite a few holders, but it's
Yeah, but
it's
like
been rough.
that's just the natural ebbs and flows of communities in crypto. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When things are good, community members are going to pile on. When things are bad, community members are going to fall off. But it's just as crypto is cyclical, communities are cyclical as well. Because guess what's going to happen when the price starts going back up, when the cycle picks back up? You're going to pile on more community members, and you're going to get new community members that are going to come in as well. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about it.
yeah. Green candles bring them. I've seen it. I've been there. Shit, I was in the TITANX chat when there was a couple hundred people in there, and son of a bitch, we were growing by hundreds every single freaking day.
Right.
I
I
mean,
remember that.
holy shit, man! It was just they were just piling in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it happens fast when it does happen, right? That's why they call it euphoria.
Big time.
When it goes, man. And you know what? It's a good time. It's a real good time. Well, right on, man. Anything else you wanted to say? And Rich, you got anything you want to say?
I mean, hey, just stay strong. Keep DCing if you can, if you choose to. If not, I wouldn't sell your bags, and I would. And look, at the end of the day, and I want to close on this as well. Anything could happen. I could be completely wrong, and we could go into a bear market over the next 2 to 3 years, and we go into a massive recession. So, even though I'm very confident in what the data says, I still want to be realistic that anything could happen. But I don't think that's going to happen because the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, I agree. This is crypto. This is anything could happen for sure, but I think that from the data that I've seen, I think you know the scenario is bull run still on, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna keep DCing. Everybody else, you're responsible for your own buys and sells, which is fine. Um, you got anything to add, Rich?
Yeah, diamonds is cooking over here.
Oh, it's cooking. All right.
There's ETH payouts going to be revived in Blaze coming soon. Diamonds is going to have ETH payouts coming soon. We got our own little market over there. I mean, you got a constrained amount of supply coming from Blaze per day, 5,800 tokens. Before long, the circulating supply will be gone. We've got 378,000 Blaze taken in 25 days. And there was only 800 and something circulating when we started.
That's
Yeah, there's a little
amazing.
bit of inflation per day. There's 35,000 tokens coming per week to market. So as long as we overcome that, soon there will be very little circulating supply. Once that happens, the Blaze will be competed for in those daily auctions. The daily auctions will increase with these ETH payouts then. So, I mean, you kind of got our own little bull market forming over there.
Yep. And that X28 believers discount is now gone,
I was literally
evaporated.
just looking at it just now, it's back. I mean, it's 2% away, but it's pretty much back to parity, man. That's awesome, guys.
So we
Yeah,
left it. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead, Rich.
No. You were on it.
So we've set it to where at 0.98 we start transforming. So
Nice.
that way we start capturing that burn because you're going to get 1% slippage anyway, and then you're going to get a 1% fee for doing the swaps. So we just
Right.
transform it at 98. That was Rich's idea and a real good idea. So yeah,
So
we've already started burning.
what are you guys burning daily with just that conversion right there?
It slowed down. We took in a little over $100,000 and we converted it immediately to TITANX. Well, not immediately, pretty rapidly, and then we converted that to X28. So once we got to like 3/4 trillion, we started really going through the converter, and since then I'm not. Let me pull it up right now.
Yeah, pull that up. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, X28 is such a massive burner once it gets going, man. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
because you're just throwing supply in the furnace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're getting the same value out on the other side, but better. Like it's pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, and if more protocols start using it, and whatever Jake launches and opens up the bridges to all these other chains, you need an X28 to participate. Shit,
Yeah,
man. Bye supply.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sharing screen, Utah. If you want to beam me up, Scotty.
I'm not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought I was. No, should be.
Okay, here we go.
You got it?
Nope. I see it. I see you. You can't share that?
What do you mean share it? Yes, I can.
Yeah, share that.
It's in the chat there. I guess I'll stop sharing it. You can share it.
Um, I don't have it.
It's in the group chat that
Okay.
yeah.
Give me just a second here. Okay. Sorry, folks. Bear with me here. Please hold. Okay, we seeing it now?
There it is.
Okay. So we've taken in 378,000 blaze, which is good. And then right here, so the TITANX transformed to X28's 274 billion, almost 275. And so we've burned half of that, right? 137 billion. And then also the X28, we've burned 137 billion. So one thing that I think people forget about is the fact that when you transform to X28, it's a 50-50 split. So 50% of the TITANX that comes in, we just send it straight to a dead address. So it doesn't show up on the chart. It just gets burned. but the other 50% goes to burn X28 on the other side. So it's like a 2X kind of thing. It's actually really awesome and super powerful.
Is that in a buy and burn for X28 that needs to be activated? I forgot, or does it automatically just get sent to a burn address?
So the way that we're doing it in our protocol, we're just sending it to a burn address.
Okay.
But X28 does have its own buy and burn. If people transform on the site, then it has its own buy and burn that needs to be called just on the X28 side, not on the TITANX side. But we're just doing it all in one motion.
Is that empty right now? Their buy and burn? Or let me pull it up. Yes, it is empty.
Yeah, because nobody else is transforming. But can you imagine when all the rocket boosters start firing off and everybody starts transforming? Man,
Yeah, it's gonna be massive.
It's gonna be massive for sure. All right, let's see. Wrecked, overflow, 2 sticks, more payouts. I don't know what that means. Whatever Jake's working on, I hope he comes with new marketing strategy. Yeah, I do too, and I honestly think that he will. So Jake comes from a marketing background. So, I mean, he marketed himself, right? We all knew about Jake and everything before TITANX launch. At least I did. I was in the
TITANX had great
mastermind.
marketing.
Yeah. So I think he's going to come out all guns a-blazing on the marketing. So one thing I've learned about Jake is he's always about 5 or 10 steps ahead of me. So he's watching everything we're watching. He knows what to do, and I also agree that when the time is right and he feels confident that we're truly in an altcoin season is probably when he'll show up. And I literally said that myself before you said it, Penny. I was thinking to myself, and I think I told Rich the other day, ETH at 5K, he probably shows up.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, right on, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Penny, for coming on. Thanks, Rich, for showing up.
You bet.
And let's go, man. Let's keep this thing going. I feel like we're getting close. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. You guys have a good night.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
See you later.
In the mountains of the blockchain.